Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joy of Pro Wrestling Network. I'm your host, Mark Ross, and today we are discussing WWE Survivor Series 2022 War Games, held in Boston, Massachusetts. This is the first time WWE Survivor Series has held the War Games match. The War Games match was previously featured in NXT. Um, and as you know, or you probably knew, that War Games has a very rich history, a very long history that spans 30 years or more, back to the WCW and NWA days even. So we kick off Survivor Series War Games with the Women's War Games match. This match is between the babyface team Asuka, Mia Yim, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, and the champion Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, versus Bayley, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Nikki Cross. So Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross helping out the Damage Control team here against the babyface team. We start out the match with Bianca and Dakota Kai. Io Sky enters the match next to give Damage Control the advantage 2-on-1 against Bianca. Asuka enters to even things up. Both Asuka and Bianca lay waste to Damage Control until Nikki Cross joins in, and Nikki Cross immediately goes underneath the ring for weapons before she gets in the match. Nikki Cross starts beating everybody up. Alexa Bliss now enters the cage. Nikki then climbs up the cage. She begins to sit at the top of the cage and laughs playfully as if she's a child at the playground. So you can tell Nikki's really having fun in this match. To the other's expense, to her opponent's expense. She's really getting joy out of finding the pain through others. But she decides to stand up, and then she does a flying crossbody down onto all the ladies in the match. Bayley then enters and brings a ladder into War Games. The crowd starts chanting, "We want tables." Bayley goes for a table, and at this point, Damage Control are having their way with the babyface team. Mia Yim then enters the match and starts to neutralize the offense against Damage Control. So now she's kind of evened up the odds. But then Rhea Ripley enters the cage. And then last but not least, Becky. So Becky's the final participant into this War Games match. So now War Games has officially begun. And the rules of War Games is, you can't pin or submit somebody, or nobody can win the match until all the participants are in the ring. So now all the participants are in the ring. Becky calls Bayley a bitch and tells her to get her ass up, and then she kicks Bayley's ass, but then Rhea comes up from behind her. She hits the riptide, but Asuka is there to break the pin, and the match continues. Later in the match, Asuka spits green mist into Rhea's eye, and Rhea Ripley is down. Later on, the match continues, and Io Sky climbs to the top. She hits a moonsault to take out Bianca and Mia Yim. And the match ends as Becky, so the finish of the match has Becky and Bianca working together. Becky tells Bianca to set up a table for her, and Bianca lays Damage Control onto the table as Becky starts climbing the cage to the top. I believe Bayley came up, and Bianca gave her the KOD. It was kind of a sloppy KOD into the cage as Becky climbed the top of the cage and with a flying leg drop. Becky climbs to the cage, climbs up the cage. Bianca sets up Damage Control onto the table. Becky hits a flying leg drop onto Damage Control and gets the pinfall to win War Games. So the babyface team wins War Games. Together, Bianca and Becky, their feud has really come full circle. Great storytelling here in this match. Great story between the two as they their story, they hated each other for the longest time and didn't see eye to eye, but now they're coming together, almost as family would, as best friends here. I can see a great alliance between these two here in the future, from here on. But they come together to help win this War Games match against Damage Control. So big win for the babyface team, and big win for Becky and Bianca to for their story to really come full circle, and so they can write a new chapter as friends moving forward. But so we go to backstage with Jay and Roman, and Sami Zayn was seen by Jay talking to Kevin Owens outside the locker room. So he ran to Roman and said, "Hey man, we can't trust this guy. He's really screwing things up for us, and I've caught him talking to Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens is trying to talk him into screwing us over." And Roman said, "You need to focus on tonight and just let me handle things." He told Jay that he was gonna talk to Sami and look him in the eye and find out where his loyalties lie. And you just worry about the match and focus on tonight as we go into the second match. So great storytelling up into the main event here between the Bloodline, and what's Sami gonna do? Is he gonna help the Bloodline? Help the blood, help the family, or is he going to turn his back on the family and go with help his best friend out? So great story here going into this main event for the men's War Games match. So we leave backstage and we go to match number 2 with AJ Styles with the OC versus Finn Balor with Judgment Day. This was a pretty good match between the two. AJ Styles and Finn Balor, they have a very their styles are very comparable, so these two could really have a good match together, and they did. Finn Balor dominated the first part of the match, and then the OC and the Judgment Day, they were outside of the ring, and they start fighting on the outside, and they kind of leave the match, and leave just AJ and Finn to have a one-on-one match. So the match continues, and AJ gets the pinfall with the with the phenomenal forearm. Judgment Day isn't there to help Finn Balor, and AJ gets the win over Finn. But I believe that if the Judgment Day were there, and both teams wouldn't ended up fighting on the outside and leaving the ringside, that Finn and Judgment Day probably would have prevailed. But AJ gets the win over Finn Balor by pinfall. So we go to match number 3. It's for the WWE Women's SmackDown Championship. The challenger, Shotzi Blackheart versus champion Ronda Rousey. I probably won't talk too much about this match. I thought it was horrible. Parts in it seemed very fake to me. There were plants in the audience. Shotzi did a flying crossbody onto the crowd, and they all laid out. The crowd was all laid out pretending to be hurt, and it was just so manufactured. And the crowd didn't care whatsoever. The crowd was very quiet during this match. There was a spot where they almost killed each other, and there was no ooh or ah or oh my gosh, no OMG moment, just complete silence through this whole match. And Ronda wins. She wins by submission to retain her SmackDown Women's Championship, and she's got some real heat going into walking up the back to the locker room, walking up the ramp, and the heat she's getting from the fans isn't really good heat. It's kind of like, we hate you heat. It's not a good heat. I don't know what they should do from here, but maybe have Charlotte come back and beat her here soon, but we'll go ahead and move on. So it goes to the back again, and now this time Roman and Paul Heyman have called Sami into the room, and Sammy's having a one-on-one with Roman, and Roman's, asking him straight up, "Did you talk to Sami?" And Sammy's telling him straight up, as he always does. He never lies to his tribal chief. He says, "Yes, I talked to Sami." And Roman, he's like, and what did he say to you? He's like, well, he thinks that I should backstab the bloodline before you backstab me. And he basically asked him, I need to know where your allegiance lies before we walk into this war games. And he said, that Sami told Roman, this, me being in the bloodline and being part of this family, means the world to me, and I'm willing to give up, sacrifice it all for this. This means the world to me. The bloodline means the world to me. I am the bloodline. I am with the bloodline. And they stand up. Roman tells them to stand, and he stands at attention to Roman, and Roman hugs him, and then they pan off. Roman still kind of has a puzzled look, like, can I trust this guy? So we go on to match number 4. But before I move on here, I want to talk about how Sami Zayn here, this vignette and all these vignettes throughout the Survivor Series War Games pay-per-view here have been just outstanding, classic, memorable vignettes. Sami Zayn should win an Oscar for the performance he put on. Even, Roman with the supporting role part. It's really Roman's always, the main actor here, but Sami was really the focal point of this whole show here. And what was Sami going to do? But great stuff here. Great stuff by Sami Zayn. So anyway, match number 4 for the U.S. title. Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory versus the champion Seth Rollins in a triple threat. This match right here was, Austin Theory proves that losing that briefcase was all worthwhile, and there was a new spark in his eye. He wasn't chained down to that briefcase anymore. That was basically handed to him by Vince McMahon. He proved it to himself. He proved it to everybody else. He proved to everybody else what he's been telling everybody. He kind of won by a fluke here, but he won and he got his belt back, and I think that he's going to do all it takes to keep it. And I think that you see a new Austin Theory. And I think this proves all the Triple H doubters wrong, too. How there was a plan for Austin Theory to get back his recognition and to get his... he was kind of getting buried with a bunch of losses. There were 50-50 booking, and just he had that briefcase with no guidance or no vision or no really plan on where they were going with that, and it was just holding him down. And giving him the U.S. title back, putting the strap back on him, which I really believe that they would do that before the match, before tonight started. I thought that Austin Theory would come out the winner of this, and I'm glad that they went with that decision, because this, this can put Austin Theory back on the right track, because, he was kind of getting buried, and him losing it all, kind of sucked for him. And, I think that it's over with the fans. I think the fans really, there was a good reaction last night from it, whether you like the outcome or not. Fans were surprised, and, a lot of people that understood it were cheering, and a lot of people were just like, what in the hell just happened, but great fan reaction from that, and that's what you want to get at the end of that, but So I hope Theory has a great United States title run, and he does prove himself, and I think that was an awesome match for him, and an awesome moment for Austin Theory there, a big moment for him. But then we move on. Let's see here. Yeah, we move on to the main event. So we're going into War Games now. We got the Bloodline, Sami Zayn, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy and Jay Uso, and Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and the Brawling Brutes, which is Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland. So the match begins with Butch, and Roman sends Jay Uso in to start the match against Butch. And then Michael Cole mentions once again, that Paul Heyman, he has a history with War Games 30 years ago. His Dangerous Alliance team was in the WCW or, War Games. So he's got a little bit of experience here, if you will, with the War Games match. So let's see if that'll come into play any. Paul Heyman always has a plan up his sleeve, and during those vignettes too, I didn't mention how great his role was, but he was in the background, lurking in the shadows, with just this sinister look, like he always does. He always has a plan, and we'll see if the Bloodline's plan comes to fruition here. So the match starts with Butch and Jay Uso. Ridge Holland then enters the match to give the 2-on-1 advantage against Jey Uso and the Bloodline. Roman then sends in Sami next to go help Jay out, so he kind of wants to see how Sami Zayn's going to have Jey Uso's back out there, to see how they're going to get along together, and to see what Sami will do. The crowd, when Sami comes out to the cage, the crowd starts chanting, "Sami Uso, Sami Uso." So the fans are really over with the fact that he's in the Bloodline. This is just a great story. They have really, every person involved in this Bloodline story, they've really turned it up a notch, and they've really zoned in and tuned in their characters. They've tightened everything up, every loose notch. It's just amazing stuff here that we're watching. We're witnessing greatness with the reign of Roman Reigns, and the Bloodline with their tag team reign. And, it's just a good thing. It's a good thing, and it adds prestige to them titles, that they're not always bouncing back and forth, among other things. But I have one of my notes is Sami Zayn was constantly proving that he had Jay's back in this match. He would pull Jay out of harm's way, and tell him, "Hey, I got your back." They wouldn't get along here later on here in the match, but the match continues as Drew McIntyre enters the match. Drew lays waste of Jay and Sami as Roman sends in the next troop, Jimmy Uso. So Jimmy Uso's in the match now as tensions flare between Jay and Sami, but they are still able to keep an offensive advantage. But then Kevin Owens now enters the ring as he starts beating up the Usos with chairs. Now the babyface team has the advantage. Solo Sikoa now enters the match. He's whipping everybody's ass, and then Sheamus enters the cage. The match continues as Roman patiently waits. So Roman's, he's a little bit concerned of what's going to happen, but he's still keeping patience like a real king would, and he's keeping his patience, and he's keeping his cool. So, Roman has a plan too, and, if everything goes to plan, the Bloodline will secure victory in War Games. There's more on the line than just a win. There's there's more to it than just a win for everything involved. A win against the Bloodline would put cracks in the Bloodline, and in their title reigns. But securing a victory within the Bloodline would secure strength and power, and they proved to everybody that you can't touch us. We're invincible, which they have been. So Roman enters the match, and now War Games has begun. And Roman enters and lays the smackdown on the babyface team. But Sheamus catches Roman in the ropes as the babyface team all start joining in on the chest punches to their opponents. The match continues. Jey Uso accidentally super kicks Sami Zayn with what the commentators were calling friendly fire. So Jey Uso, accidentally catches Sami Zayn when someone ducked out of the way. Sami Zayn gets caught with Jey Uso's super kick. He gets caught on the other end of it. And Jimmy's looking at Jey like, what have you done? And he's like, Jay's like, let him lay there, Uso. Let him lay there, whatever. Because he's still not down with Sami here. Let's see here. Kevin Owens is able to hit a pop-up powerbomb on Roman, but Sami interrupts the pinfall to save Roman. He dives on the referee and stops the referee's count while he's looking at KO in the face. And what else do I have to do? Am I proving it to everybody now? Am I going to prove it to you right to your face? I am with the Bloodline, and you're not going to beat us on my watch. And Kevin Owens is just stunned looking at him. He's like, you mother, he's like, they're looking at each other, they're face to face as the crowd chants Sami Uso once again. One of them, I believe, was coming up for a super kick, and then Sami low blows Kevin Owens, proving another time, that he's worthy. He gives a low blow to Kevin Owens and gives Kevin Owens his patented kick, his running kick in the corner, to set up Jey Uso for the big splash in the corner for Jey Uso to get the pinfall, to get the Bloodline win in the War Games. Emotional moment as the Usos stand in the ring victorious. Sami Zayn is hugged by Roman. Jey Uso has his respect. Jey Uso runs over and hugs him. They all hold ones up. Sami Zayn is officially, a family. During that whole thing there with Kevin Owens, Kevin Owens was saying, is this your family? Is this your family? And Sami's like, yeah, this is my family, and then he low blowed him. And it was just an amazing Oscar-winning, award-winning stuff by the Bloodline, by Sami Zayn. What else could I say? He proves himself worthy. He's an Uso for sure now. So Bloodline, they stay victorious. They stay strong. They grow even stronger after tonight. They're stronger than they've ever been. And I just got to say, look out, because the Bloodline isn't going anywhere for a long while. Not at least, who knows if The Rock will come back or not to stop him, but why would he, It's the Bloodline. It's family. So the Bloodline is now stronger than ever, with the bond even closer than ever. So I believe their reign is just beginning. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you enjoyed WWE Survivor Series War Games. Thank you. We'll talk to you next time.